Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular Planning Commission meeting. It's 5:30 for February 6, 2024. I'm going to call to order. The land that we know as Sequim was once inhabited solely by First Peoples known as the S'Klallam people, represented by the three tribal governments, Lower Elwha S'Klallam, Jamestown S'Klallam, and Port Gamble S'Klallam. We serve as stewards of the land within the city of Sequim with the same care and consideration the S'Klallam tribes has and continues to provide. This acknowledgement is a respect to the S'Klallam people and their history. The Planning Commission serves as an advisory body to the City Council. The purpose of the Planning Commission is to provide guidance and direction for Sequim's future growth through continued review and improvement to Sequim's comprehensive plan, zoning code, shoreline management, environmental protection, and related land use documents. The Planning Commission will have all the powers, and perform each and all duties specified by Chapter 35A.63 RCW as amended and set forth or amended by ordinance. Roll call. Emily, will you please take roll call, noting that Commissioner Carter and Commissioner Frayne are both absent tonight on an approved absence.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Commissioner Kuntz.
Here.
Commissioner Cummings.
Here.
Commissioner Hewitt.
Here.
Commissioner Lefevre.
Here.
Commissioner Mihalik.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Approval of minutes. We are approving the minutes tonight of the January 2nd meeting, regular meeting of the Planning Commission. Has all of the commissioners had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, is there any corrections or discussion? No? Can I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes of January 2nd, 2024.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, minutes stand approved. Thank you. Public comment. At this time, general public comment will be heard. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. For those wishing to speak on the public hearing topics, please hold off those comments until that portion of the meeting. So we are going to hold 2 public comment sessions tonight. One is the one that we are going to do right now, which is for general public comment. If you are here and would like to provide comment on the mobile home moratorium, that will be during that portion of the meeting. So at this time, do we have anybody that would like to provide public comment other than the mobile home moratorium?
Looks like I have one, Brandon Janice, so come on up.
Thank you.
So my name is Brandon Janice. I'm here tonight as mayor, and I'm here to speak to you as a commission about something that I'm sure you all have heard from us, but I just want to come up here and reaffirm that. So bear with me as I read something here. So I am writing this on behalf of the Sequim City Council to express a sentiment that the Sequim City Council believes is fundamental to the role and potential of the Planning Commission, your freedom and autonomy in selecting topics for discussion and recommendation. The City Council and the citizens of Sequim look to you as a source of proactive, constructive, and innovative suggestions on how to improve our community. It is crucial to emphasize that your role as members of the Planning Commission extends beyond a mere conduit for the City Council's directives or the directives of city staff. While we understand that you may receive specific requests and guidance from these entities, It is equally important to recognize that your expertise and insights are valuable resources in their own right. The Planning Commission represents an opportunity for independent thinking, exploration, and problem solving. You possess the knowledge and experience and vision to explore topics that directly affect the well-being and quality of life for our fellow citizens. Therefore, the Sequim City Council would like to encourage you to exercise your discretion in choosing topics for consideration that align with the best interests of our community. By doing so, you can tackle pressing issues, identify emerging trends, and propose innovative solutions that may not have been on the immediate radar of the City of Sequim Council or city staff. Your proactive approach can lead to the discovery of new opportunities for growth, development, and enhancements for our city. As you deliberate and engage in discourse, Council urges you to continue engaging with the public and seek input from a diverse range of stakeholders, and inclusivity and transparency are critical to ensuring that the recommendations put forth by the Planning Commission truly reflect the needs and aspirations of our community. In conclusion, the Sequim City Council and the citizens of Sequim believe in your ability to contribute meaningfully to our city's future. Your independence, creativity, and dedication to improving our community are highly valued. And please consider this letter as an affirmation of your autonomy and the trust that we place in your ability for a brighter future for Sequim. So the Sequim City Council looks forward to witnessing the positive impact of your endeavors. Again, on the behalf of Sequim City Council, Mayor Brandon Janice. And while I'm up here real quick, in my own personal capacity, I'm just going to address the members of the audience. I did reach out to those at the Senate Committee on 5961 on your behalf, even though we know that that might not go anywhere. But 2114 is still up in the air, and I will continue to work on that since it addresses everyone. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for that open invitation to move forward with what we want. Buckle up, because we got a lot of stuff we want to do. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to provide public comment for anything other than the moratorium? Okay. Okay.
All right. Hey, I like Excuse the allergies, please. How about now? Hi, Sharice. I just want to relate some stories that came across my desk or my brain here recently, because it always amazes me when I find these things out. Excuse me. We just had, this will lead up to a point, but we just had a lady move into our adjacent park, and I'll be doggone if she got to spend one night in her house before she passed. I mean, you just go, oh my God. And I spoke with a very wise lady yesterday because I was wondering, does stress have anything to do with? Because experts say that moving is as stressful as losing a family member. This wise lady I spoke with yesterday mentioned to me that, excuse me, that living in a MHP here in Sequim, Manufactured Home Park, is like living with a bomb on each shoulder. And I thought, well, that is interesting. The first bomb is, I call it the dirt bomb. That means the bomb that could go off and take the land from beneath your home. The second bomb is the one that relates to the rents, which basically you can be economically evicted with their outrageous rampaging rents that are going on. Everybody knows about it. You guys can't do anything about bomb 2, but you can do something about bomb 1. That would relieve a lot of stress. And if you can relieve stress and fear and anxiety from people, they actually live longer. And this same wise lady told me, as an example, I think it was a neighbor she was speaking with, and the lady said, I got $10 left. And the month is not over yet, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. So being the great lady that she is, she said, have you been to the food bank? The lady said, no. She said, join me because I take others. So it's amazing the need is out here. And anybody, anytime that can do something to ease that stress, that fear, that anxiety, you're actually helping people live longer. That's not a joke or an exaggeration. Where's my time?
10 seconds left.
Pardon me?
10 seconds left.
I don't have time to finish. But anyway, those are the observations I've run across here in the last few days, and I'll talk to you a little bit later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to provide public comment?
We do have one person online.
Okay.
Nash, if you would like to provide public comment, you are more than welcome. Or if you're just here to listen, just let us know.
Okay. Do we have just one person online?
Mhm.
Okay. I do understand that sometimes there is a little bit of technical difficulties, so please let me know if you receive a message that he would like to provide public comment. And we'll make sure to fit him in. Okay, at this time, we're going to close public comment. I don't know why that word was so hard for me right now, but we're going to close public comment. And we're going to move on to general business. Item A, which is update on the moratorium on applications and permits for redevelopment of mobile home and manufactured parks. And there is a public comment session with this, but we are going to do that after the presentation. We're going to have the presentation first. And Kim, welcome. I don't know if you're the one that's starting or Sharice is going to give you an introduction.
Sure. I was just going to give a quick introduction. So tonight we have Kim Mahoney. She is with LDC. She's a principal planner and has been working with the Manufactured Home Park, work with me behind the scenes. And she has a presentation tonight, but I also mentioned, as you stated, there will be discussion of the Planning Commission and then the public comment. And we're hoping to get some direction, or at least more direction than we have had in the past at this meeting tonight. So I will turn it over to Kim and then we'll roll from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharice, and thank you, Chair. Thank you, everybody, for being here this evening while we discuss the most recent information that we've been able to gather based on our collective analysis on furthering forward with the moratorium on mobile home and manufactured home parks. This is February 6th, 2024. I appreciate everybody bearing with us as we canceled the January 16th discussion of this and held it tonight instead. We're here tonight to be able to go over our current tasks and then be able to present on our recommendations on the preferred options that we've understood to be desired by the Sequim's Planning Commission for potential implementation in Sequim to be able to address the moratorium. The current tasks that we have are listed right here. You can see that we are actively working on researching and defining the key terms.
I'm sorry to bother you, but the presentation isn't showing and maybe you need
Oh
to
gosh,
show.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Let's see.
There it is.
Okay. Thank you, Sharice. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay, so you can see here that we have begun to collect and define research key terms that are relevant to the discussion of mobile home and manufactured home parks and Sequim. We are also going to present tonight on research on the following options, which is options 1, 2, 3, and 5, as we understood option 4 in our December 5th meeting to no longer be something of interest to continue pursuing. We are going to discuss tonight the recommendations that we've prepared for each of these options implementation into the comprehensive plan and the zoning code. And we're really hoping to be able to have a very open discussion and collaboration with the Planning Commission tonight on direction on the recommendations that we're providing in tonight's presentation. This is a collection of the terms that we have found so far. This is a collection of terms that has been garnered through a research of the Sequim Municipal Code, the RCW, and then also the codes from Port Townsend, Port Angeles, and Paulsboro. These are terms that are oftentimes used in the conversation of mobile home parks and manufactured home parks and may not necessarily be applicable for any address of the moratorium in Sequim, but they're terms that deserve an analysis to be able to make that determination and then to be able to guide staff in the I guess, direction on where or if these terms should be defined in Sequim's municipal code. Our next steps described here are to distill recommended definitions for each of the terms. So we have a kind of a collective list going for each of these with a multitude of definitions provided for each term as it's defined from the Sequim Municipal Code or neighboring codes, neighboring agency codes, or the RCW. What we want to do is be able to take a deeper dive into how that term should be defined for applicability in Sequim, make it Sequim specific, and then determine from there which are relevant to the moratorium at hand and where those terms should be addressed in the code. This has become something of a realized necessity as we work through the Sequim Municipal Code and have realized that in certain instances, these terms are defined in multiple places within the Sequim Municipal Code and are defined in multiple ways within the code. And so to be able to really avoid any sort of confusion or conflation of the applicability of the code or how it is defined and how it relates to mobile home parks, we would like to be able to create just one definition for recommendation and collaboration with the Planning Commission, and then determine whether that sort of definition belongs holistically within Sequim's municipal code, or if it belongs in a specific chapter designed to address mobile home parks and manufactured home parks. As to options 1, 2, 3, and 5, we have prepared recommendations to discuss tonight with the Planning Commission on each of those. You'll recall from past presentations and from your agenda packets tonight that option 1 is related to amendments to the comprehensive plan. And so we've discussed before goals 6.2, or we've discussed before the existing goal 6.2 and the potential to adopt a new goal 6.5. And what we're recommending tonight is the adoption of a revision to goal 6.2 and new policies that have been drafted to implement 6.2, and those would be 6.2.5, 0.6, and 0.7. And then we can also potentially look at adopting goal 6.5 and its accompanying policy 6.5.1, which is specific to the preservation of mobile home parks and manufactured home parks, and is a direct reflection of research that staff has done through the Bellingham Municipal Code, which has adopted language in goal 6.5 shown on this slide and policy 6.5.1 on the next slide. You can see here that the existing goal 6.2 in black text and header really only is expanded upon in the proposed revision goal 6.2 that includes a promotion of a variety of residential densities and housing types, and particularly encourages the preservation of existing housing stock to include mobile home parks and manufactured home parks. That goes, of course, to being able to promote the intent of retaining and preserving the existing stock of mobile home parks, but also pointedly addresses more broadly Sequim's desire to be able to provide for a variety of residential densities and housing types. We could also pointedly adopt the new goal drafted here, 6.5, which reads existing manufactured home parks and mobile home parks should be preserved, just as a standalone effort to be able to convey the importance of the preservation of these mobile home parks and manufactured home parks. Or the commission could deliberate tonight whether this is adequately addressed within the revised goal 6.2. As was discussed on the last slide, we also have these new policies that have been drafted. You can see 6.2.5, 0.6, and 0.7 would all accompany the revised goal 6.2. And the new policy 6.5.1 would be an implementing policy to the new goal 6.5 were it to be adopted into the comprehensive plan. These policies are drafted to be able to implement the goals, and so they are specific to be able to address the intent and how it is that SQUIM would go about guiding its development through the comprehensive plan, and then accompanying zoning code changes to be able to carry out these policies and these encouraged development practices and preservation of mobile home park stock. You can see I want to pointedly address new policy 6.2.6, which is to use local resources as available to leverage other public and private funding for the creation or preservation of affordable housing. This is something that is akin to other topics that we've discussed on the moratorium with Planning Commission. Pointedly, it was related to option 5, which included whether SQUIM could be involved in things like encouraging resident-owned communities and buyback programs. And this would be something that SQUIM could consider. New policy 6.2.6 could be something that SQUIM could consider as a means of supporting its desire to be able to encourage that sort of assistance, even if it's assistance in the way of providing pamphlets and informational handouts to the community that provides some sort of guidance about funding opportunities or other, preservation options like mobile home preservation nonprofit organizations. Could be something that policy 6.2.6 implements and provides some sort of context for staff to be able to implement. Moving on to option 2. Option 2 relates to staff's recommendation on how it is that mobile home park preservation could be addressed in SQUIM's municipal code through either a new zone, a zoning overlay, or amended zoning code language. We've looked at each of those 3 options, and staff is here tonight to be able to recommend that the Planning Commission recommend a mobile home park zone overlay. In comparison to a new zone entirely, a zone overlay has a couple of benefits. It avoids the need to amend each of the underlying zones for all mobile home parks that exist right now in SQUIM, which allows for a multitude of potential uses of the sites that are applicable to the overlay. So an overlay maintains the existing zoning, the existing zoning of each site that is applicable to the zone overlay. So those uses and provisions of those zones are still applicable to each of those lots, but the overlay carries the overwhelming power of what is to be developed and designed on each lot. So in instances where there is any sort of conflict between what is allowed in the overlay zone versus its underlying zone, the overlay prevails. It also has the benefit of creating quite an eased implementation for staff and understanding for developers, particularly based on the clarity of that hierarchy. For this effort, our next steps would be to work through the administrative processes of repealing the current code 18.62, which governs mobile home and manufactured home parks in SQUIM, and would instead adopt 18.63, which would be the mobile home park overlay. And we could carry forward relevant portions of the existing 1862. That would be a part of staff's analysis in this effort through its next steps would be to determine what development regulations are applicable within the overlay zone. And that would be through an iterative public process with the Planning Commission. We would need to consider as needed revisions to many of the chapters within the existing Sequim Municipal Code, some of which are listed here. And we'd also need to prepare an overlay mapping and potentially adopt an implementing land use designation in the comprehensive plan that would behave as the consistent land use designation for the implementing overlay. We have some additional research to do here. One is whether the overlay would apply only to existing mobile home parks, or if it would apply more holistically to zones that allow residential uses or beyond that. And then again, researching and analyzing what would be an appropriate way to regulate development within the overlay zone. These would all be our efforts moving forward with option 2, if we were to understand tonight from the Planning Commission that it concurs with staff's recommendation to move forward with researching the implementation of adopting a zone overlay. We'd also previously discussed option 3. Option 3 was known as a TOPO, a Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Ordinance, or sometimes called a Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, a TOPA. This was something that we had learned about being implemented mostly in other states, but in one instance in Washington State, in College Place, Washington. However, on further research and with some querying having been done both with the city's council, I should say the city's legal counsel, and with MRSC, which is a public resource that's able to be used to be able to guide municipalities through a lot of planning regulated issues. We have been given to understand that it is inappropriate for a local government to attempt to regulate a tenant opportunity to purchase ordinance. There is RCW that governs the exact matter, and there is RCW that does also expressly state that it is inappropriate for local governments after May 1st of 2023 to adopt any sort of ordinance that attempts to regulate the same matter that's regulated in the RCW. So our recommendation to the Planning Commission tonight is to remove option 3 from further consideration and allow for the state law that's currently in place to be able to govern those matters. Lastly, with option 5 related to the SQUIM's potential ability to adopt things like a housing authority or a nonprofit, or to encourage nonprofit preservation organizations or resident-owned communities, or provide for that sort of information to the community. We recommend that SQUIM continue its current efforts to continue building a relationship with the Peninsula Housing Authority, to be able to explore further how it is that that organization could establish itself within SQUIM, or offer its services within the SQUIM community to the existing mobile home park community. And that any sort of implementation of aid via resident-owned communities or nonprofit preservation organizations really borrows on much of the state law that is already governed by the previous RCW, and so should be left to that device to be able to regulate and provide that sort of opportunity information to the mobile home park community. However, again, referring back to the recommendation to adopt policy 6.2.6, there isn't any reason why SQUIM's Planning Commission couldn't consider providing some guidance to staff tonight that would allow us to, say, provide informational packets or brochures or things of that nature at SQUIM's front counter for its residents to be able to come and use as a resource to inform themselves of available opportunities and resources. Our next steps are to take the direction and guidance from the Planning Commission tonight to be able to further our research and recommendation for continued implementation of options 1, 2, and if needed 5. We'll also be at the City Council next week on Monday evening, the 12th, to be able to provide an update to City Council and hold another public hearing for an extension of the moratorium. We would continue to prepare draft materials which implement the options that are discussed tonight to bring to Planning Commission at public meetings to be able to engage the public and the Planning Commission and refine those draft implementation materials. And then we would move through the administrative process of adopting the finalized materials, which would include SEPA and intent to adopt, notice to commerce, another public hearing, and then finally recommendations and adoptions with the council. With that, I've finished my presentation. I'm certainly glad to address any questions from the Planning Commission. And if there's a preference for me to go back to a certain slide for further deliberation, please let me know.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Does anybody have any questions about this presentation right now? I thought maybe we would ask questions of Kim and look for some clarification. And then we would take public comment and then discuss our thoughts on what we'd like to move forward with. Sharice?
No, I don't have anything right now. We'll just entertain the conversation, and Kim and I are prepared to work together to answer the questions that you may have.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Kim or comments? No? Okay. So at this time, Kim, would you mind staying on for the public comment session?
Of
just in
course.
case? Okay.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you. At this time, because we might have some questions brought up, from public comment that we might need clarification on with you.
Of course, Chair. Do you want me to leave the presentation up for now, or?
I think the attendees would appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open public comment specific to the moratorium. I know that we have some people that would like to provide public comment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have Emily read off a couple names that have signed up for public comment. If you want to give public comment and you have not signed the list, please do that. And then we'll also check online to see if anybody's present. But we're going to take a couple comments from in person at this time.
All right. Thank you. Doug, you're up.
And just one other note, and this is not specific to Doug, although I know Doug
That
really
is.
likes to talk, but
I
you
didn't
do have 3
identify
minutes.
myself. Doug Wright, Henderson Community, Sequim, 3 minutes. First of all, point of clarification. On page 4, it designates a House Bill 5198 as ESHB 5198. House bills do not go above 5,000. They're all under 5,000. There's obviously just a typo or something, but it should be E2SSB 5198, which is a Senate bill. Okay, that's just a point of clarification. And other than that, basically, I think that a good deal should be a good deal because it's quick and simple and easy and benefits everybody. So I kind of like the ordinance that Bothell put out. Quick and simple, easy to understand, and just for grins, there's just some copies with the underlying parts or what I added to it, because you guys can do this. I mean, you can do this stuff. Yeah, you have the power. Okay, I like it simple and sweet, and this also not only benefits the leaseholders, but it benefits the landowner and gives them an out, so they can actually do what they want to with their land, but can't destroy people in the process. So basically my support is for option 2, the MHP zoning overlay, because I think it's quick and easy, quicker and easier than all the other options. I could be wrong. I have been wrong in the past. But other than that, thank you, commissioners. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Kim. I see you up there. And thanks for everyone for showing up and supporting this. Let's get it done.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. And Emily, did you give her a copy for the record of this? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, next person on the list.
All right, next up is Judy Hatch.
Hi, first of all, Kim, that was great. For those of us that haven't been here to listen to what was actually going on, it was great. Thank you very much.
Of course.
We moved here from Hawaii about 8 years ago. So we're relatively new to Sequim, and we are less than that to mobile home living. We moved into Juniper Mobile Estates about 5 years ago. And it was it was great because people were really helpful, showing us around what to do and everything. The bottom fell out about 2 years ago when we got our first real rent increase. For us, it was 25% or $125 a month. Now, Tom and I were lucky. We could do that, but our park is a 62-year age limit. So we tend to be a lot older than some of the other parks. We don't have any 55 years unless they happen to be a spouse. But it's some people just, they can't, 125 a month is their food bill. So that was our first bomb, as Doug referred to it. The second one was when we actually realized that the owner had the power to give us what would come to know as a move it or lose it edict. You can't move these mobile homes. And if you could, there's no place to put them. So we live with this every day. I wake up in the morning sometimes and I think, okay, is this going to be the day that we get the notice that we have to be out? In whether it's 6 months or 2 years, it doesn't matter. There is no place to go. There is no housing for seniors. We are so lucky to have what we already have here in Sequim. And I can't thank you enough for your efforts in working with the city council on this. It has just been, it was an eye-opener for me. And I really, really can't thank you guys enough. And I've got to go along with Doug too, because we've talked a lot about option 2, and it's easy and it's quick. And a lot of the work has been done, a lot of it by Doug. And I thank you for even considering it. And I hope you will. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Judy. Okay, do we have anybody online, Emily, that would like to provide comment?
I'll double check. I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Next in person is Annette Hansen.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. I live in Hendrickson Heritage Park. I've been there about 3 years now. I own my own home, free and clear. So the monthly rent is the main thing that I have to watch out for. But I'm here tonight to encourage you to adopt either my preference, like the other mentioned, would be 2. But if you can consider part of number 1, in goal number 1, the new goal 6.5 is very desirable because it not only leaves out the word encourage, which I notice the word encourage is throughout the recommendation or summary, and encourage leaves too much room for leeway. But in goal 6.5, it just says existing manufactured home parks and mobile home parks should be preserved. And if you can somehow bring in some of those goals into what you recommend to City Council, I think that would be very worthwhile. Like the woman who just talked, in 3 years, my monthly land rent has gone up 51%. And there's no lid on that, as you all know. And I heard today from Kathy that 5961 did not make it through the Senate committee. And so all we have left is the House committee to consider rent caps. So this overlay is critically important right now, because if none of these bills again go into effect, I think at least in our park, I'm facing another $100 a month rent, which would up the increase within 4 years to probably around 60 to 70% of an increase. And so I just encourage you to ask the council to extend the moratorium, to give you enough time to do the great work that you have been doing and that the staff, city staff has been doing. I really appreciate it personally, and just want to encourage you to keep on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Annette. Okay, we'll hear the next person on the list.
Okay, last up is Judy Chilson.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else at this point that would like to sign the list and come up and speak? Okay, at this time, then we're going to close. Oh, okay.
I'm not at all prepared to do this. It's okay. Right out of my mouth.
Here, you could just give me your autograph.
Thank
there.
you. Hello, everybody. My mama sat in one of those seats for 12 years. Arlene Engel is her name. If you don't find anything out about her, just look her up. I meant to bring her resume that I did for her 92nd birthday. It's 3 pages long, okay? She and my father started Dominion Terrace on 3rd Avenue on a wing and a prayer. They sold everything they owned and put their hearts and souls into that. My mother had the first death and dying class in town. My mother helped to start the museum. My mother helped to start the bus. Her list of things that she's done is just endless. She was Citizen of the Year. She was Red Cross Heroine of the Year. She was this, she was that. She was invited by the White House to help craft the Americans with Disabilities Act. Both of my children manifested mental illness as they got older. When she finally quit the commission, she was a commissioner. She was also on the, what's the other? Yeah, planning commission. But when she finally quit that, she became head of the Alliance for the Mentally Ill in Sequim and in Port Angeles. She, the stuff she did was unbelievable. She died at 92, still drawing a paycheck as your hospital commissioner. She had won that position through voting. I wish I had her whole resume here, because eventually your mouth just drops. And the reason I'm bringing her up is because she would not be happy to know that her child might be evicted because somebody rich came in and ruined everything for everybody. My mom works for the housing for the mentally ill. She did, you're looking at it, and I'm not the only one. These people out here, every one of them has a story of what they did either in this town or in another town. We are not just people with our raggedy Sequim clothes on. We are people in this community. I've spent the last 20 years in Sequim as a volunteer at the theater. That's my gift. And I just want you all to know, look at me. I represent every story that each of these people has, what they've done for their communities. And I don't like making people feel guilty, but if it helps, you have a chance to honor every single thing that these people have done in this community or elsewhere. Or you have a chance to allow greedy, and this happened with my mother and Dominion Terrace. Greed, her partner's greed, made our futures unstable. The reason I don't have a lot of money is because of greedy, and I'm not going to use the word I wanted to use, stepped in and almost lost everything. They almost lost everything, except my mother. You never made my mom mad, because if you did, you were in big trouble. And she uncovered all kinds of illegal stuff he was doing. But I just wanted to bring her up and honor her. You're a good mom. Love you. And just remember that these are the hearts and souls of human beings who didn't value money so much that I had so much fun, I forgot to make money. That's basically the story of my life. But I had a right to do that. And I have a right to live in a place that I can afford because that was my choice. So please, vote your conscience, work with that. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to provide public comment at this time? Okay, we are going to close the public comment session. Commissioners, does anybody want the presentation still up, or can we turn the lights back on, or? Yeah, okay. Okay, let's go ahead and turn it back on. Okay, well, now the real work begins. What are your thoughts, comments, questions?
Can we provide a point of clarity just
Sure.
for your information? So
I think that's helpful. Thank you.
yeah, Kim, and jump in anytime too. So just wanted to let you know that the options on the table aren't an either or. It's yes and. So we believe that option 1, 2, possibly 5 could be combined together, but definitely 1 and 2 if you're considering that, because the comprehensive plan, the existing comprehensive plan needs new language in order to support a change that would occur in option 2.
Okay, that was actually a question that I had for you, because I know that we are getting ready to go through a comprehensive plan review and revision. So does that language need to happen before that revision?
So you can initiate an update to the comprehensive plan when it is, council driven, staff driven.
Okay.
We can still do that comprehensive plan amendment. We haven't done one this last year. We are still initiating the periodic review, in which we anticipate would be done June 30th of 2025, unless the legislature extends that timeline. So what I would say, long story short, is we would need to update the existing comprehensive plan. You can still do that now. That's part of what we're looking at, and that won't change the work that we'll continue to do with the upcoming periodic review.
Okay, so if we did do that, it would carry into that periodic review, or could it be changed at that time? I mean, I just,
We'll
if
be
we're
working
gonna-
on the periodic review at the same time that you're
Okay.
updating the existing comprehensive plan, and it shouldn't cause a problem. We will
Okay.
stay in contact with our comprehensive plan consultants as if there's anything, but I don't anticipate, from what we're proposing to you tonight, that that's going to impact the work that we do for the periodic review.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments, or? Yes, Eileen, Commissioner Cummings.
We've mentioned a couple times about the Peninsula Housing Authority, and it sounds like there's some difficulties, or we haven't really connected with them to help us do what we want to do. What's the story?
So we do have, we know Peninsula Housing Authority. They haven't done a lot of work in Sequim in the last, so many years. So I think it's a need for, if there's interest, to reconnect over this and have them do some type of work, or engage in conversation to start with. That's a relationship that needs to be rebuilt with Sequim. I mean, we know the players, it's not a problem. We're even talking internally about putting a meeting together regardless of what was happening with manufactured home parks. So I do not anticipate a problem rebuilding a relationship with Peninsula Housing Authority.
Okay, do you have any kind of an idea on time frame, how that would look? I mean, if that was an option that we considered.
I mean, I think that, Kim, you can kind of jump in a little bit here, but I think it would depend on what actions you are wanting to occur through that relationship with the Peninsula Housing Authority. It's one thing to, strike up the relationship and work together to some degree. It's another thing when you commit money or you're talking resources and what that means. I think that's something that would need to be discussed, and also could be policy decisions that the council would need to make and give direction as well. So.
Okay, and I'm also interested in that as far as like how that would look. I mean, I know that, a lot of parks, I mean, how does the housing authority work? Do they manage? Because I know a lot of parks are, they manage themselves. They're owner occupied, so
Yeah.
I'm curious how many, like, what would that do to the homeowners' rights?
Well,
As far as being homeowners.
I think that we would need to do some more investigation. Kim, if you have some examples that you know of other places that have built that relationship and already have something in place, I think that's something we would need to dive into. If you're interested in that option, part of our work is to dive deeper into what that means. But if you have anything you would add, please let me know.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions or? Yes. Oh, we forgot to introduce you. We'll do that later.
That's okay.
This is our newest commissioner.
Actually, I have a question for Sharice. And I'll know this answer in a couple of months, but do we have any other overlay zones in the city at this point?
We have the downtown districts, and there's another one. I can't remember. It's not super prominent right now. The two, I'm sorry, business, what are they called? Help me out, Emily. The two business districts.
Economic opportunity.
Economic opportunity
Oh.
areas. Thank you.
Okay.
Those are kind of working like overlays to some degree. But the downtown districts are probably the most prominent example of an overlay that we have in Sequim. But I would tell you, we haven't really robustly used overlay districts in the past. So this would be a new concept that we're really getting into, other than the downtown districts.
I've always been in favor of overlay districts. They're flexible and they're maneuverable, and you can condition them quite at will. So anyways.
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
were thinking that it would be easier considering the multiple zones that we have of the current manufactured home parks in place today. And an overlay might be easier to capture all of the manufactured home parks into the overlay, regardless of the zone that they live in.
Thank you.
If I can help expand on that point a little bit, Commissioner.
Go ahead, Kim.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, I can't really see your guys' faces from way back here.
It's okay.
The only thing that I was going to add to that is another benefit is that, part of the research, if we were to continue to pursue option 2, part of the research would be, where do we want the overlay to apply? There isn't really much room for worry if it were to apply just over the existing mobile home parks. There's not a lot of room to worry about things like creating a nonconformity or something like that. But if you expand that to other zones that are already developed with homes or businesses or something, then you were to change the zone rather than apply an overlay, then what you're doing is creating legal nonconformities in many, many, many areas throughout the city, anywhere that is developed with something other than a mobile home park. And that just adds another layer of confusion and challenge to a process that could otherwise be alleviated and made much easier through something like an overlay, which is part of the basis for our recommendation tonight on option 2. I should also extend an apology to the community and to the Planning Commission tonight for not being more clear that options 1, 2, and 5 are not isolated options. 2 or 3 or one of them could move forward with more direction tonight from the Planning Commission. And thank you for Sharice for providing that clarity. And Chair, if you wanted me to provide any sort of address of typical code writing processes and comprehensive plan regulation processes in terms of how they're written in terms that are used, whether they're, more loose language like encourage versus something that's a little bit more, something that has more teeth, I'm happy to address that sort of conversation as well.
Okay, thank you. I was thinking about that, and when I was looking at the revised goals, 6.2, And in the last, and I even have it on my notes where the last sentence does say, encourage preservation of existing housing stock to include the preservation of mobile home parks and manufactured home parks. And I thought, well, we don't really need 6.5 because we covered it in 6.2. But I also realized that there have been times where when we've reviewed other matters and, and it'll be we shall or we should. And we found ourselves, so when it was originally written like that and it wasn't exceptionally clear, we found ourselves 2, 3, 5 years later realizing that clarity would have been really important. And when Annette provided her public comment and she specifically commented on 6.5, that it really kind of codified and solidified that this was something that we really wanted to do, which was preserve, make sure that they're preserved, not they should be or we recommend it, but that they will be. So I feel my personal opinion that that's important. Yes, Larry.
Yeah, I guess, and I agree with the question about the language, should, shall, will. This is our policy, our goal, but do we have the ability to ensure? When you say we shall preserve, that connotes that we might have the ability to stop something from happening. And as I'm understanding this proposal, there's just a 2-year notice on a sale, correct? We can't stop the sale.
Right.
So I don't want our language to maybe be misconstrued that our goal will ensure a park in perpetuity, if that makes sense. And I don't know if that's part of what you analyzed, Therese.
I think, Kim, I'm going to call on you on this, but could you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the difference between like the overlay versus, can you go into the conversation about the overlay and how that is a little bit more of a preservation tool instead of the 2 years? You know what I'm saying? How we will use the overlay zone as this is giving more power to preserve the manufactured home park use than we currently have in place, where you allow all different types of uses in each of those zones. But can you say that more eloquently with your planning background, please?
Well, maybe. What a tough charge to be asked to speak
I'm
eloquent.
sorry.
I don't know that I can. I think that maybe I'll get there, and so I'll try and get there. Code language and language that is adopted in the comprehensive plan are intended to be written differently. They should be written differently. What we should look at this as, and I would advise this of any client, is that the comprehensive plan is written to be able to define the dream, and the municipal code is written to be able to shed light to the dream. So the comprehensive plan should be written in a way that conveys what the intent of the community is. What is the vision? What is the culture of Sequim? What is the desire of the community? That is all defined in the comprehensive plan, and then is regulated and implemented via more direct implementable language through the municipal code. So it's common for us to see things like the comprehensive plan using words like encourage the preservation of mobile home parks, or mobile home parks should be preserved in this area, or something to that effect, because it conveys what the intent of the community is, what the vision is. It relies then on the code, such as a zoning overlay, like what we're recommending tonight, to be able to provide more of the teeth to being able to shed light to that dream. How are we going to be able to actually encourage that preservation? How is it that we're actually going to make that preservation happen? Is the effort that is undertaken via the municipal code, in this case, a recommended zoning overlay. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, I feel like that was very eloquent. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for, just because I've been thinking a lot about this, and not just like what happens in this moment in 2024 with this commission and these residents in this town. And, you know, so if we move forward with the overlay, and let's say that, and the comprehensive plan, you know, update, and let's say that we have a park owner that wants to sell and he provides the 2 years, does he need to find a buyer? If there is an overlay in place, does he need to find a buyer that would keep that as a mobile home park?
So Kim, I would say it would depend on how we write the overlay zone, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is because it's an overlay zone. And so that inherently means that the underlying zoning regulations are still applicable. It's just that if there's an instance of conflict between the two, then typically the zoning overlay is written to be the prevailing code. But again, this is all a matter of further conversation with Planning
Okay.
Commission to be able to deliberate this much deeper.
Okay,
Where we're actually doing things like drafting potential code language for a mobile home park overlay and bringing it to the commission and saying, this is how this would read, this is how this would be implemented, this is how we would achieve the end of the revised comprehensive plan.
And you could give us we could give you examples. So if you said, well, I want to see what a really, really strict overlay zone would look like versus, okay, what is more lenient, and looking at the language as we compare that, that's part of the nuance of getting into the details of the code. And so I think if you want to see options, let us know that so that we're giving you that opportunity when you're reviewing it, and giving us good feedback as well, so that it's written in a way that is helpful. And then also thinking about what the right time will be once we get into that policy writing, and you're making a recommendation to council on that policy decision, trying to align that appropriately so that we're moving in the right direction. That will be part of our work together. So I think this is the first of a work session. We'll
Okay.
probably have more work sessions as we get into the details.
So we'll get into the nuts and bolts and
Yes.
with how we want it to look and how it's going to be structured
Yes.
moving forward. Okay. Eileen.
So change is hard for all of us. And I was kind of thinking about implementation of an overlay zone with future and present mobile home park owners. That's going to be kind of tricky to be able, not everybody's going to be happy. And so, you know, if I owned a mobile home park and I'm hearing all this changes coming and impacting my future income as well as how I manage my property, I might want to put a for sale sign out there and get out from under it now. And then we could incorporate new stuff with a new owner. But have you thought about how to make that transition with current owners and potential new ones?
Not the ownership of the parks, because we would be dictating the zoning requirements. But what I would say is this moratorium, and this is opportunity for all of those involved, including the people that live in the homes and own the homes, to the mobile home park owners. That's why we do the public comment. That's why we do public hearings, and be very clear that this is an open process and that you're hearing what the public has to say, when that can be an impact in the community long term. So that's part of the nuance that you're experiencing as you balance what you hear, what you recommend, and how you move forward in the community and what's right for Sequim.
Okay, thank
It
you.
should also be noted that excuse me.
No, go ahead, Kim.
To address Eileen's question, it should also just be noted that, you know, when it comes to the actual real estate transaction, that goes along those lines of what we've been told is not the business of the local municipality to attempt to govern, because it is regulated by the state.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And so for clarification, because we've had quite quite an engagement in public comment and on this issue. And, and you will forward things to us, if somebody submits a letter or an email, and the whole commission gets that to review. I haven't seen any comment from any of the park owners, and I was wondering if there had been anything that had not been passed along.
We haven't engaged with the park owners
Okay.
At this time.
But they're free to engage and comment.
They're free to engage and comment when we have the public hearing on Monday, the 12th. That's publicly noticed information. So we'll be clearly stating that in the public meetings that we have of it, like, other meetings we mentioned that we're looking at the moratorium. There's information up online. But, if you want us to reach out to those individuals and tell them that we're discussing this, we are gathering information about those owners and how to reach out to them. Some of them might be mailing because we don't have an email or a phone number for them. So, but we can do that.
I think that there's been enough exposure. I think that they've had an opportunity like the rest of the community. Unless the other commission feels that the other commissioners feel that we should.
If that's not our normal practice, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree.
I would stay to what we normally do, which is we post on our website and we post in other forums, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else have any comments or questions or recommendations or how they'd like to move forward? Or
I think given the conversations and what we've heard tonight, we would like to move forward on option 1, 2, and 5.
okay. Anybody else? I would like to move forward on recommendation 1 and 2, with 2 being highest priority, and 1, doing the revision on the comprehensive plan as needed to support option 2. And then if we need to move forward with 5, I just don't want to get way in the weeds with something that, that is not going to, I'm just not sure. I mean, I would like more information, but I think the priority for me anyway would be 2, which is the overlay. That's what I'd like to see. Anybody else?
I agree with the chair's prioritization. Start with 2, then follow with 1. And I think number 5, I like your idea, the proposal to engage Peninsula Housing. But that's completely incumbent on finding that third party who's willing. So I don't think we can wait for that to move forward with compliance with everything else.
Thank you. Eileen?
I think the next steps is that they listed, and by the way, thank you very much. The work you and Kim and everybody has done on this is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And now we're going to ask you to do more. But, I think staff has looked at this so many times that they have narrowed it down already. They see the progression of how their vision of how to make it work in the system that we have here. And, the person for the housing authority, somebody just might come up and say, this is right up our alley. And I don't think the city should be in the business of rentals and housing. So as they start the work in the next steps, I suspect they're going to figure out a way, because they're all amazing, to kind of keep it all connected and make it work well together. Because if we get to the end of 1 and 2 and then we go, now what? But that's just I think we should do 1, 2, and 5. Encourage them to do that. Recommend them to do that.
Okay.
Just a comment. 5 is simply a professional relationship. It's not establishing anything other than Sharice's ability to interface with Peninsula Housing. So I think moving forward with 5 doesn't bog down option 2 and option 1.
Okay. Dennis, did you have anything else?
I tend to agree with that. It's okay to have our staff communicate with other agencies that could prove a benefit within the city, but it's not an onerous work task where there's going to be more review involved in options 1 and 2. But I agree with the chair's prioritization on 2 and 1.
Okay.
But
thank
5
you.
is not onerous. I think it's something that should be done on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I don't think that we should like take it totally off the table. I don't have enough information. Really, I have a lot of questions, but I think 2, the overlay is the priority, I'm thinking.
So I'm hearing like 2 is priority, 1 you need to do in order for 2 to happen, and that 5, refine that relationship. And if there's more information we can provide to you about option 5, also bring that back to you, but spend a lot of our time on 1 and 2, making that move forward. And that's what we can present to city council. We're working on our staff report now, and the last refined piece is what happens tonight that we take to them on Monday night. So I imagine this room will be full of the same people. So welcome back on Monday night to hear the public hearing, and we'll be recapping what happened at City or Planning Commission, just not in as much detail to the City Council to get movement to move forward on the continuing the moratorium and the work that we're currently doing. So is that a good summary of what you would like to do? Okay.
Is that what you need? Do you need
A clear
or-
motion would be helpful from
Okay.
you all. And if Kim, is there's anything else you need from your perspective that we didn't hear tonight? I think this is the time we would want to ask for that.
No, I think that the conversation has been clear. The commission is right to suggest that option 5 really is quite independent of options 1 and 2. And as we continue to chase that down, if it proves that attempting to make that connection with the Peninsula Housing Authority and interface with them is arduous or timely and acts as something of an interruption to this process, then maybe it's something that we consider taking out and moving forward with in a separate sort of action.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I make a motion, we move forward in a timely manner with options 1 and 2, leaving 5 on the table as time permits.
Thank you, Karen. Can I
I'll
get-
second that.
Okay. And let's do a roll call vote on this, if we can, Emily.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was
Thank
just
you.
typing.
No, it's okay. It's an
Okay.
important vote, so.
Of course, absolutely. All right. Commissioner Coons,
Aye.
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Commissioner Hewitt,
Aye.
Commissioner LaFever, Commissioner Mahalik.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Planning
Appreciate it.
Commission.
And thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Okay. So does anybody have anything else on that before we move forward? We're good? Okay. Okay, the next item of business is the revised chapter 15.04, the adoption of the 2021 building codes. So I
So
believe.
yeah, tonight we have Joel
This is
Dressel,
Joel.
our building official, here to present.
Would it be appropriate to ask Sharice to reach out to Jamestown Tribe?
Yeah.
That number 5 as well, because I know they were looking for housing
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, just
Yeah.
on the side.
We'll do that during good of the order. Yeah.
No.
You're clearing the room, man.
Yeah, we're ready, Joel.
Okay. Joel, building official. So I got the Sequim Municipal Code, Chapter 1504, building code updates. This was presented to Planning Commission probably about 6 months ago. The state was planning on adopting the 21 codes. Originally July, got bumped to October, got moved again to March 15th. So Dennis and Larry, you weren't here for that, but nothing has changed since that first presentation to Planning Commission. And just know this is just a general item, so it's not going to public hearing for Planning Commission. It's set to go to City Council next week on the 12th. And there's a possibility the state could delay the implementation of the 2021 codes again. So it's just really up in the air. There's some legal uncertainties that State Building Code Council hasn't given us 100% on yet. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on any of the changes that were presented in this.
I have a question,
Mhm.
just curiosity. So I noticed that there was in the chapter key changes. Let's see, it's like the second bullet point about current certificate of occupancy. Does that apply to where businesses have to like post that? Does that apply to like home businesses and like short-term rentals?
No, it won't. It would just be brick and mortar businesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. That's all I really had. Anybody else?
And I tried for Larry and Dennis especially, in the key changes, I tried to put every change we made in there with the code section cited, so it'd be a little easier to follow and find, because we reorganized the chapter, and so it looks like it's completely rewritten. All the strike throughs would have been too much.
Okay. And so what we're looking for, or what you're looking for tonight, is for us, if we don't have any questions or issues or anything, because this is all code that just is updated according to what the state has updated, correct?
Most of it. We did add, there's a few things that are added specific to Sequim, like the certificate of occupancy requirements on existing businesses, and new businesses moving into occupancies that aren't necessarily changing the occupancy, but just so we have some updated certificate of occupancies for knowing that they're in a place that's approved. Fire and life safety issues are not going to be an issue. Also to help with the fire district, if they get a call, they can easily see what the occupancy is, who's the owner, what's the business. There's I think, and then we did make some other changes with some of the, what's that? Timelines for. Yeah, like our over-the-counter permits, re-roof permits, HVAC permits, reduce those time limits for the permit to last for 180 days instead of 2 years. A lot of times, some of those, they just get dropped off. 2 years later, we're calling a homeowner or a business owner, and they forgot and they think it's been finalized. So it just allows us to run a report, get notices out that their permit's about to expire while it's still fresh. And we'll extend those too. We got that in the code that those can be extended with written notice if for some reason they pulled the permit and didn't get to it. Let's change the timeline on our review timeline that's in there, and exempting the building permits and site construction permits from an actual day timeline. Some of that because 2023, it was about 43 days in review time average for my review for building permits. Site construction permits can be really complex. Public Works has to look at a lot of issues, and they're under a 90-day timeline. And that's some of it too, because we can't issue the building permit without the site construction permit being issued. So currently they have 90 days. I have 30 days and we can't issue it anyways. So we're just exempting those from that time restriction that we've put on ourselves. The state doesn't mandate that timeline yet. There is a Senate Bill 50, is it 5290?
That sounds familiar.
Think
Yes,
so.
5290.
SB 5290 that has to do with project review timelines, and that's going to take 2025 take effect, I believe, and
January 1.
January 1, and then we'll be, potentially re-looking at this and make sure we're following all the state guidelines for those project review times. But
Okay, thank you. Does any of the commissioners have any questions on the proposed amendments? No? Eileen?
I have just kind of a follow-up. When we first talked about this, somebody brought up the enforcement of some of these codes, and it was pretty much based on a complaint. And is that still the status of?
yeah, currently we're still complaint driven with fire and life safety issues taking precedence. And prioritizing in that sense. Although I will say even currently, anytime we get a complaint, we at least verify that it's valid first off, no matter how light it might seem, and try to follow up with that. But the staffing issues make it hard, especially when people don't want to voluntarily comply. It can go on a bit and chasing that, but yeah, it is complaint driven at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I can add to that a little bit. So code compliance is something that we didn't focus heavily on in 2023. We had a few other priorities. In meeting with the police department and the public works department, we're taking a look at code compliance and resetting goals that we'll be working towards. Some of it has to do with process and analysis. Some of it has to do with how that would be connected to our current new, Tyler Technologies software and how we're able to utilize that system and being prepared for that. So while we haven't focused as heavily on, much in 2023, we'll be focusing on process improvement and also resetting some goals and the direction that we need to go with code compliance, still considering the resource allocation that we have of staff right now, but we're trying to get some traction. So hopefully that helps answer that question too.
Thank you. Okay, anything else on the revisions, the proposed amendments? Okay, would anybody like to move to recommend staff to move forward with the proposed amendments?
I move to recommend and staff move forward with the proposed amendments revising SMC 15.04, along with ancillary code changes for city council consideration.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, passes. Nice work,
Thank
Joel.
you. Thank you, commissioners.
Okay. Moving forward, we are now looking at the update for the Planning Commission rules and procedures. This has been something that we've been working on for quite a long time.
Perfection. We want
Perfection. Yeah. For the newer commissioners, this is something that we've been looking at updating for quite a while, and it's been something that like Emily's predecessor worked on, Sharice's predecessor had worked on, and there was some changes that were made and adopted without rescinding the old changes. And so we kind of cleaned that up, but then we had some other ideas that we added, as far as it used to say that the executive secretary would take notes, and it's always been Emily. So we've changed that to say that staff would be the one that takes the minutes. And I went through this and, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I didn't see any issues, but I'm curious for your input. Yes.
I just have one observation in, I think it's section 4, meetings. We talk about they'll be done on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And my thought was, what if Zoom goes away? Do we want to just say
I thought
a
about that too.
generic? But then as I read 4E may already cover it. So you might want to just consider either modifying, removing via Zoom, or just strike that whole held and reference it down in E, which looks like more generic language about having online meetings.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when I read through it, because I thought, well, because I know some places use Microsoft Teams. Right. Some people use Zoom. There might be a new one out there that comes about. So
you're just saying just take out Zoom by name and just say, broadcast live or whatever. Okay, that's easy. Okay.
There's a problem, though. Zoom is a two-way. So if you just say will be broadcast, you're not saying it's broadcast and you can participate. So you need to make sure that the language is, they know that you can electronically attend and participate.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's why we talked about when we put it in there, that it would be the Zoom link to let them know. So just language saying that it will be broadcast in a participatory manner, something, electronic participation is possible.
Okay. Anything else? Yes, Dennis.
I just had a question as to the rationale for the quorum. That's section 9, I believe it is. A quorum of the Planning Commission is 4 of the 7 members. Does that mean there has to be 4 Planning Commission members regardless of who else shows up for a quorum?
Minimum of 4 in order to have the meeting.
Yeah, right. So 4 planning commissioners and business could be held.
Correct.
Regardless. Okay.
Correct.
That's clear then. Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
I want to thank Emily for putting together all of the information. You did a very concise job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was interesting to go back and listen to things before my time. It was fun. I'm mad that Jeff isn't here, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Unfortunate.
This is his.
He'll listen.
Yeah. This is his.
I think
This is
Emily's
his
going to be
baby.
emailing him later.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody that would like to move to adopt the rules and procedures with the amendment?
I so
Yes.
move.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, it passes. Yeah, thanks, Emily, for your hard work on this. This is like, this was even before my time. So, yeah. Okay, and new business now. Now we're moving on to new business, which is Title 17 dedications. I looked over that.
I have a
Sharice, is
very
this-
quick presentation
Okay.
or more of an explanation on that one. So
Okay.
we have a number of items that are queuing up for updates from our code, and our legal team has been looking at this one, and so has the Public Works team and the planning team for quite a while. So we took some time to discuss when plats are recorded over the years. Sometimes they get differing language from engineering to engineering team. Sometimes the dedications, when you look back at them, 20, 30 years later, they don't really give the type of definition that you need on the face of the plat. So what we've done is proposed the guidelines and some language. We utilized, I believe, Snohomish, City of Snohomish. I don't know. I'm not an original Washingtonian, so I get them all mixed up. But I will tell you that we looked at good language. We had our team evaluate. We had our consultants take a look at it. And what we've proposed tonight is that that dedication language be used on the face of the plats, and that it's consistent as we move forward to provide that clarity for future generations of people working in these positions. And we've had some problems in the past where sometimes these dedications don't do what you think they will do, or they've caused problems for the development community when they didn't think about how, dedicating just right away in a private way without doing a tract of land or something like that can occur. So this will help them as well when they're trying to really evaluate what that land dedication should look like, and using the correct type of language to help assist when they get to that final stage of recording plats and recommending language. So tonight, our recommendation is for you to recommend to our city council that we bring forth an ordinance and bring this forward to adoption so that we can have more clarity. Sorry, that was not very eloquent.
Where's Kim?
Yes. Yeah, we need Kim for that. But I'm here to entertain any questions that you might have on that, and just know that there's been a lot of background work on this one to moving it forward.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay. All right. Anybody want to make a motion? Or I can do it. I'll move to recommend the council approve the proposed language change to the Sequim Municipal Code Chapter 17.04 General Provisions, and that the council adopt the guidelines for standard land use certifications, dedications, and declarations. I must be tired. I went to work early, so, okay. Second.
Yeah, 3 seconds.
Okay.
We're serious.
Everyone, so is that
All those in favor, just raise your
Aye.
hand.
a 5
Okay.
to? Yeah. Thank you all for that one.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm sure Jeff will have lots of questions, but not tonight. He's not here. Okay, director's report.
I just wanted to give you an update. You know that there is an interim controls for the 2 points of access that we had discussed in prior meetings, and we haven't brought that back lately. And I don't have it on the agenda tonight because one of the things that I've been working with is to get a task order with Transpo Group, which is a transportation consultant that we use for our transportation master plan. And they help us they'll be working on the transportation master plan and the comprehensive plan. But part of the issue that we're evaluating with this is connectivity. And we wanted the Transpo Group to come in as a consultant with that technical background to evaluate different criteria for connectivity that we could put in the code that relates to the comprehensive plan. So that we could really, we didn't feel like we had the in-house expertise to provide that recommendation. So the task order is to work with them. They're going to jump into the evaluation criteria, and then we'll use that criteria to make recommendations for municipal code changes. And for Dennis and Larry, we had the 2 points of access in our subdivision code that created the splitter situation, and that was considered 2 points of access into a neighborhood. And then we had a situation where that was challenged, and so we came forward with an interim controls to put a hold on that particular requirement to do more evaluation and make a recommendation for a change to the code. So right now, the code does not require a splitter and doesn't require 2 points of access until you have 30 plus lots. And so it doesn't do a good job to relate. It didn't before, and it doesn't currently do a very good job of interpreting the connectivity language into the municipal code right now. So that's what we're working on. So hopefully we'll be silent a little bit longer as we have Transpo Group do some evaluation, and then we'll be back for more discussion on that one. But hopefully in the meantime, we'll be talking about moratoriums more. So Larry?
It's just a quick question. So if something is platted for more than 30 units, it'll have to have the 2, correct? Because eventually it's going to be a problem. And if we don't
Yeah.
have it initially put in, is that where we're headed with this?
So so right now, a subdivision that has more than 30 lots would have to have 2 points of access. And in the past, part of that conversation was, does the splitter provide that access, the 2 points of access? So when you come in and say you wanted to develop 250 lots and you're saying, I want 6 phases. First of all, we're going to look at the whole and see where that connectivity is. And then each of those phases would have to be a standalone. So if the rest of them didn't develop and you had like 32 lots in phase 1, you would need 2 points of access kind of thing. So that's part of the evaluation when we get into the subdivision review. But yeah, 30 is the number right now, but not for good reason. And we need good reason.
Oh, so the number is being challenged, the 30.
The number, and to me, it's less about the number and more about what type of connectivity is provided in the city regarding the comprehensive plan's direction for, more nodes and connected points. There was a lot of discussion in the comprehensive plan of, well, the example would be on West Sequim Bay Road. There are 3 subdivisions in a row that have no connectivity between the 3 of them. And I think the comprehensive plan identified, I live in one lot and my back door, Eileen's on the other side, and I can't get to Eileen's house unless I drive 2 miles around to get to her front door.
Right.
And so the point being is, why were we allowing the subdivisions to be developed without like a stub or a connectivity, or requiring that through the vision of the comprehensive plan and then getting put into the transportation master plan and then eventually into the code.
Right.
And one of those reasons that it didn't get moved forward into the municipal code was we did the comprehensive plan the last time, but the municipal code wasn't evaluated and updated to meet the visionary recommendations of the comp plan. So we're still dealing with some of that right now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on that right now? No? Okay. How about that planning calendar? Anything on that, or is it still?
I have my friend Emily over there that can pull the planning calendar up for us. Thank you.
All right. I haven't added anything new, which is good, I guess. Oh, sorry. Right. Yes, we've been very busy. So, I mean, do we have anything to add? Does everything still look good on here? Et cetera.
We could take off the land acknowledgement, right? Because we did that.
We could.
Okay.
What about the rules?
We'll wait until they're officially.
Okay. But our part's done.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, no, I don't really have anything now, but since Brandon, our new mayor, got us all fired up and said, we want to hear your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm going to look for some stuff to add to this.
Yeah, sure. Just send me an email.
Okay.
I think we could add just comprehensive planning to that calendar. I didn't put it on the director's report specifically, but we've been working with our consultant to refine that work plan. And we're getting to the point where we have built a list of contacts. They're going to come. This isn't an official date, but they'll unofficially be here March 4th and 5th, I believe, to start conducting interviews with stakeholders in our community. And we're working on getting the website and kind of a logo and, getting all that moving. So we think March will be a good kickoff for some of the work as we start, as that starts. And we'll be talking with you and bringing you forward the work program so you can see what that looks like. And you're going to be really busy with that. I want to just let you know that. And then another thing we have going on is our hearing examiner. We have put together an RFP, and Emily's getting ready to release that tomorrow. We're looking for a new hearing examiner. And right now we're using, we have one that has kind of called us out on the table of some really poorly written and some codes that need amended. So you could see a lot more interim controls here, or I do anticipate coming forward with a lot more municipal code revisions, even though we're still working on the comp plan and we will be doing the UDO. There is our Unified Development Code. There's still some situations that is causing us problems as we have development come through, and evaluating it to a code standard that conflicts or provides poor direction is happening every day. So we will be putting more of that on there from a staff perspective. So just letting you know that there's work.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, good of the order. Does anybody have anything for good of the order? I know Larry did.
Yeah, we talked a little bit offline, but going back to option number 5 that we're looking at, I think that's out of, I guess I'm going to restate this a little bit. We can't make anybody partner with us, and we can't make them buy the property and operate it. And so I would just suggest we cast as wide a net as possible to find firms that might consider doing that. And I know at one point Jamestown was considering doing housing, and I don't know if they still are or not, but you might cast the net wider than just the housing authority. Something to consider.
I think we were looking at some specific language and direction from our CW and ways that others have worked on manufactured home parks, and that's why that came up in our presentation. But yeah, I mean, there's always, if you're talking from the perspective of manufactured home parks, or are you talking from the perspective of affordable housing, or?
Well, I'm talking about to address our MHP here.
Okay,
So
I hear you.
anybody who might.
If there are other nonprofit groups or agencies that could provide that
Somebody,
service.
yeah, I guess, my
First
concern
Fed,
is
things like-
the
yeah.
housing authority may or may not have the capacity.
Okay.
And I think at the end of the day, we say we tried. Or you guys, staff say you tried, and here's who we reached out to. And that will address the community's concern. We looked at a handful of different people.
Thank you for the clarification on that. I appreciate it. We will look into it.
I'm a little confused, I guess. So, but, the housing authority, I mean, that's what they do. And so I kind of sound like you didn't want to deal solely with them and put it out to bid. But, I would like somebody that has some background and knowledge of, especially our whole peninsula. And that's what they do. I think that's real important too. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying to exclude them. I'm just.
Right.
Yep. Cast a wide net.
Yeah. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. I really like, oh, were you done?
I'm done. Yeah.
Can I have a turn?
Yes, you may have a turn.
I like the way in the whole discussion that you included affordable housing. Manufactured home properties are probably some of the most inexpensive places to live. And the little I know about, we have several, and I suspect most of them are senior housing. And I hope somewhere along the line that we, that we share that low-income housing possibility, not only with seniors, but the rest of the community who doesn't have money, and very much money. And I don't want that to be dropped off. I think seniors struggle, but so do young families. So I hope we can, make sure we include all of that in the further discussion about this. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Anybody else? Okay, then we are on to item number 10, which is adjournment. Do we have I'm not going to say it. Do we have a motion? Oh, move to adjourn? Okay. Do we have a second? All those in favor? Raise your hand. Okay. So the meeting is adjourned at 7:15 PM. Thank you.
Is it only 7:15 PM?